welcome back to another ETS one-to-one interview. My name is Christine Richards, and I'm the research director here at Z-Prime. And we're really excited to have Brian Jones here with us today from Utegration. Thank you for joining us, Brian.
Sure, thank you.
All right, so tell us a little bit about Utegration and how it works with the utility industry.
Sure, so Utegration was founded about 8 years ago by some ex-SAP employees that happened to be working in the utilities vertical for SAP. So we are now about 300 people strong, headquartered in Houston, and we primarily focus on the utilities industry. We also work with oil and gas companies as well. But the primary focus came out of utilities, and again, many of us are ex-SAP, and we've been fortunate enough to attract a very large number of very highly credentialed consultants over the years from both SAP as well as many other, kind of big five type firms as well. So we focus largely on systems integration for all types and sizes of utilities.
Excellent, excellent. Now, we have a lot of different topics that we could cover in this interview just because there are so many things happening in the industry today. But one thing that I think has really come out of ETS 17 is the need for better customer engagement, better connections with customers. What are you seeing in that in that area in terms of customer transformation?
Sure. Well, it's interesting. I've got I hate to admit 30 years now of being in this industry, having started working for an electric and gas utility. And I don't think the concepts of wanting to have high customer satisfaction scores and really serving your customers as optimally as possible, I don't think those have really changed. But I think the tools and the ability to serve customers better, as well as, for that matter, manage your assets and anything else that a utility does better. The concepts haven't changed. It's almost like any other industry. Farming, manufacturing, whatever it is, if you were a farmer 1,000 years ago, you had an idea to put a seed in the ground and cultivate and grow some food. Things are basically the same now. However, it's a lot more sophisticated in terms of the equipment and technology and expertise and getting the most out of your field. Same thing in the utilities industry. I think the difference is, I think the utilities industry has kind of lagged behind most other industries for whatever reason. They haven't had a need to innovate as fast or an incentive to do so. But I think it's finally coming. And the way I think of it that kind of makes the most sense to me is if you've ever been out in the countryside along a train track and you see a train coming, or if you've been where I'm from down in South Florida and you're standing on a pier and you see a large cargo ship off in the distance coming, you're like, wow, that's a really big ship, but it's coming really slow. And then as it starts to get closer and closer and closer, wow, that is a massive ship. Way bigger than what it looks when it gets right up on me. And once it's on you and it passes by, that ship is moving fast. And so once it gets on you and goes past you, you realize how large, massive that vehicle is, that ship, and how fast it's actually moving. I think the same is in our industry. I think we've kind of seen this change in terms of digitalization, serving customers better, being more connected across the entire value chain. We've kind of seen this big ship coming for years, and I think we've kind of said, it's still off in the distance, it's not really that big. It's getting big, and it's almost on us now, and it's about to pass us by. So I think from our perspective, it's an exciting time. Interesting, a lot of the young university students seem to be excited about this industry. 30 years ago, that was not the case. It was probably the last place that a college grad wanted to go. But now there's an excitement, and I think that excitement is we've got this massive change. It's here, and it's happening a lot faster than what we realized.
Yeah, definitely. So, where do you see things going from here? You talked about the ship coming our way. Where does the industry go from here?
Yeah, well, I think the industry goes exponentially faster than it's ever gone before. Again, when I started at a utility 30 years ago, I had no computer. We had very little digitalization of our assets. In fact, none. Everything was analog, and we had very few devices that were actually intelligent or had some sort of capability of offering up sophisticated information. So I think where we go is things will completely transform, and we've been hearing it all this week. It was very interesting hearing Ganesh speak this morning from GE Digital. There's going to be 7 billion devices, digitized, smart devices, if you will, monitored for information by 2020. 7 billion with a B. I mean, that's just unimaginable. And once we get to that point, the entire business model of a traditional utility and how consumers interact with utilities and how consumers become utilities, so to speak. They become generators of energy and sellers of energy. So just the whole industry will be essentially reinvented, I think, over the next 5 to 10 years. It's not going to happen overnight. I would argue it's been happening for many, many years. But again, the analogy is it's been coming slowly. But the change is going to be so massive, you just won't realize it until it's upon us. And we're almost there.
Yeah.
So.
And who's, just one last question here. I mean, who's responsible for this innovation? You know, is it the technology companies? Is it service providers? Is it utilities, regulators? I mean, who has the biggest role to play in driving that forward?
I would argue we all have a role, right? I don't think any one player has a bigger role than any other.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you talk to someone, if you talk to Ganesh, I'm sure GE probably has the biggest role. I'm just kidding, but I think everybody has a hand in this, right?
Yeah.
And I think just our civilization in general has brought this about. This is not just about our industry, you know. Just you know, it's always interesting to me. You know, I saw Michio Kaku speak recently, and he talked about the size of microchips. The size of a microchip today is 16 atoms, large. We're not too far off. In too many years, it will be down to a single atom. Will be the size of a microchip.
Wow.
Which is, how can you even fathom that? Even 16 atoms seems insane.
Yeah.
But the point is, technology is going to be so ubiquitous everywhere, not just in machines, but in our own bodies, monitoring your health. And so it's definitely not just an energy industry phenomenon, it's our civilization. Our civilization is completely transforming itself. And it's really around, you know, some basic things like the microchip, you know, some of the major inventions that have just happened over the last, or discoveries over the last 10, 20 years. Again, electricity was discovered many, many years ago, right? And our industry was kind of founded by the Thomas Edisons and the Nikolai Teslas of the world. So those concepts won't change, the basic fundamentals, but how we deliver and consume those commodities or those energies will change and are changing. So it's an exciting time, as I said before.
Yeah.
Like no other.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for
Sure.
joining us today, Brian. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.